The metallic hum of quantum computers filled the underground laboratory as James Miller stared at the holographic display. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he couldn't look away from the numbers floating before him. After 15 years of research, the impossible had happened. His team had found a way to touch the seventh dimension. "It's working," he whispered, watching the energy patterns stabilize. The test chamber, a reinforced cube of transparent aluminum, glowed with a soft purple light that seemed to bend in ways that hurt the eyes. Inside, a small metal sphere flickered in and out of normal space-time. The laboratory door slid open with a soft hiss. David White, his longtime friend and head of engineering, walked in holding 2 cups of coffee. "Still at it? It's past midnight." James took the offered cup without looking away from the display. "Look at these readings, David. We've done it. We've actually done it." David leaned forward, his eyes widening as he processed the data. "This can't be right. The energy efficiency is off the charts. The aliens said this was impossible. The aliens were wrong." James allowed himself a small smile. "We've proven that their understanding of dimensional physics is incomplete. For decades, humanity had been the laughingstock of the galactic community. When Earth first joined the interstellar scene 50 years ago, the advanced species of the Confederation had treated humans like clever pets. They praised humanity's quick adoption of basic space travel, but dismissed their theoretical physics as primitive. The holographic display beeped, drawing both men's attention. The test sphere had completely vanished from normal space, yet the sensors showed it existed in a perfect state within the seventh dimension. "Send the data to the UN Space Council," James said, finally sitting down in his worn office chair. "They need to see this before the morning meeting with the Confederation representatives." David typed rapidly on his tablet. "You know the aliens will try to shut us down. They always do when we make a breakthrough they don't like. Let them try." James took a long sip of coffee. "This time we have proof they can't ignore." The next morning, in the gleaming UN Space Council chamber in Geneva, James stood before a mixed audience of humans and aliens. The Confederation representatives sat in their elevated seats, their various forms ranging from insectoid to vaguely humanoid. "Honored representatives," James began, his voice steadied despite his nervousness. "Earth presents evidence of successful seventh-dimensional manipulation." A rumble of dismissive clicking and whistling filled the chamber. High Commander Vex, a tall being with iridescent scales, raised a clawed hand for silence. "Dr. Miller," Vex's translator conveyed his condescending tone perfectly, "your species barely understands 5-dimensional travel. These claims are absurd." James activated the holographic projector. The chamber filled with data streams and visual recordings from the previous night's test. "The evidence is clear. We have achieved what you claimed was impossible." The alien representatives fell silent as they studied the data. Their body language shifted from dismissive to concerned. Some began rapid conversations in their native languages. "This must be a mistake," Vex declared, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "Our civilization has studied dimensional physics for 10,000 years. You cannot have surpassed us in mere decades." "But we have," James replied calmly. "Humanity approached the problem differently. While you focused on manipulating known dimensions, we theorized the existence of higher planes. We didn't try to force our way through. We found the natural paths between dimensions." The chamber erupted in chaos. Several alien representatives demanded immediate classification of the research as dangerous technology. Others called for sanctions against Earth. A few seemed genuinely curious, asking rapid-fire technical questions. High Commander Vex raised his voice above the din. "This research must cease immediately. The risks to space-time stability are too great." James stood his ground. "With all due respect, Commander, that's not your decision to make. Earth will continue its research. We invite collaboration, but we will not be stopped." As he left the chamber that day, James could feel the shift in the air. The patronizing smiles were gone, replaced by worried glances and hurried conversations. Humanity had done more than prove a scientific theory. They had shattered the Confederation's sense of superiority. Back in his laboratory, James watched the test sphere shimmer in its chamber. Soon, they would build something larger, something that would change everything. The galactic laughter had stopped. Now it was humanity's turn to teach. The abandoned missile silo stretched deep into the Earth, repurposed into humanity's most ambitious project. Project Atlas had begun, and the world's greatest minds worked in secret to build something unprecedented, a ship that could sail through the seventh dimension. Tom Walker stood before the massive skeletal framework of what would become humanity's first 7D vessel. The construction bay hummed with activity as robotic arms welded exotic materials into place. Next to him, Anna Reed adjusted the holographic blueprints floating between them. "The hull design is unlike anything ever built," Anna said, rotating the detailed schematics. "We're basically creating a ship that exists in multiple dimensions at once." Tom nodded, running his hand through his graying hair. Traditional metals would tear apart at the quantum level. That's why we're using the new metamaterials. They can handle the strain of dimensional shifting. Above them, a massive crane lowered another section of the specialized hull plating. The material seemed to shimmer and shift, sometimes appearing almost transparent before becoming solid again. It had taken months just to figure out how to manufacture it. "The aliens are still watching us," Anna said quietly, checking her secure tablet. 3 of their ships have been in orbit for weeks. They're probably trying to figure out what we're building. Tom smiled. "Let them watch. They won't understand what they're seeing. Their own physics tells them this is impossible." The project had started immediately after James Miller's breakthrough. While the Confederation threatened sanctions and tried to pressure Earth diplomatically, humanity had already committed to this path. The world's governments, for once united in purpose, had poured resources into Project Atlas. A loud alarm echoed through the facility. Red lights flashed as security teams rushed to their stations. Tom and Anna quickly accessed their emergency feeds. "Breach attempt at the outer perimeter," Anna reported, her fingers flying over the controls. "Looks like some kind of alien stealth probe. Defense systems are engaging." They watched as the facility's advanced security measures activated. Quantum detection fields identified the invisible probe, and focused energy beams reduced it to atoms before it could transmit any data. "Third attempt this month," Tom sighed. "They're getting desperate to know what we're doing." "Can you blame them?" Anna gestured at the massive ship taking shape before them. "We're building something that breaks their understanding of physics. Of course they're scared." The all-clear signal sounded, and work resumed. Tom walked along the construction gantry, inspecting the latest additions to the hull. The ship would be beautiful when completed, a sleek 1,000-meter vessel that resembled a massive arrowhead. "Engine integration starts next week," he said, making notes on his tablet. "That's when things get really interesting." Anna joined him at the railing. "The 7D drive is ready. James Miller's team has scaled up the prototype successfully. Now we just have to hope it all works together." "It will work." Tom's voice carried absolute conviction. Humanity has always been good at putting pieces together in new ways. That's what the aliens don't understand about us. We don't just accept limitations. We break them. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Both engineers checked their devices. The UN Space Council had intercepted new Confederation communications. The aliens were mobilizing a larger fleet, claiming they needed to contain potential dimensional instabilities. "We need to speed up the timeline," Anna said, already adjusting construction schedules. "If they're bringing in a fleet, we don't have months anymore." Tom started sending orders to the various team leads. "We can do it in weeks if we work around the clock. The hull is nearly complete, and we can finish the internal systems in parallel." They worked through the night, pushing the construction teams to their limits. The massive ship gradually took shape, its strange hull catching and bending light in ways that made it hard to look at directly. As dawn broke, Tom and Anna stood in the observation room, watching their creation come together. They had crossed the point of no return. Humanity would either take its place among the stars as equals, or they would fail spectacularly. "Do you think we're ready for this?" Anna asked softly. Tom watched as another section of hull locked into place, the material rippling with dimensional energy. "We have to be," he replied. "The galaxy needs to learn that humanity isn't just another primitive species to be patronized. We're about to show them exactly what we can do." The mood in the United Earth Defense Command was tense. Admiral Robert Stone stood before the massive holographic display, watching as red dots appeared around Earth's orbit. The Confederation fleet had arrived, 15 capital ships and their escorts, far more than necessary for a diplomatic mission. They're positioning themselves in a classic containment pattern, his tactical officer Mark reported, highlighting the alien fleet's formation. "Maximum coverage of our major cities and military installations." Robert's jaw tightened. After 30 years in space combat, he knew an attack formation when he saw one. "Status of our orbital defenses. All stations at battle readiness, or ground-based weapons primed. The lunar defense grid is powered up but hidden under stealth fields." The Admiral nodded, keeping his expression neutral for his crew. Around the command center, officers monitored their stations with practiced efficiency, but he could sense their unease. Humanity had never faced such a large alien fleet before. A communication request flashed on the main screen. "Put them through," Robert ordered. The image of High Commander Vex appeared, his scaled face showing what passed for a stern expression among his species. "Admiral Stone, the Confederation Council has deemed your dimensional research too dangerous to continue. You will cease all related activities immediately and surrender your research data." "That's not going to happen, Commander." Robert's voice was calm but firm. "Earth is not a subject world of the Confederation. We do not take orders from you." Vex's translator conveyed a sound of irritation. "Your species' arrogance exceeds your wisdom. We have detected energy signatures consistent with dimensional manipulation. You are playing with forces beyond your comprehension." "Our comprehension seems to be doing just fine," Robert replied. "Your fleet's presence in Earth orbit is a violation of our sovereignty. I suggest you withdraw. You mistake our patience for weakness." "Admiral." Vex leaned forward. "We have kept peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not allow a young species to endanger that peace through ignorance." Below the command center, deep in the Earth, Project Atlas continued on schedule. Robert had to buy them more time. "If you're so concerned about peace," he said, "why have you brought a war fleet to Earth? A precaution only. But if you force our hand..." Vex let the threat hang in the air. New alerts flashed across the tactical displays. The alien ships were powering up their weapon systems. Mark's voice was tight as he reported, "They're charging main guns, sir. Energy readings are off the scale." Robert straightened his uniform. "Commander Vex, power down your weapons immediately, or we will consider this an act of war." "You are in no position to make demands, Admiral. We scan your defenses. They cannot stop us." Vex's expression shifted to something almost pitying. "Submit now, and we will be lenient. Continue to resist, and we will do what must be done." The command center fell silent, all eyes on Robert. In that moment, the weight of humanity's future pressed down on his shoulders. Their dimensional research was the key to everything. True independence, technological advancement, a real place among the stars. He would not surrender it. "All stations," he commanded, his voice carrying across the room. "Battle positions. Activate Defense Grid Alpha. Bring all weapons online." "Admiral Stone," Vex warned, "this is your final warning. Do not force us to demonstrate our power." Robert met the alien's gaze through the screen. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing to you." The connection cut off. Around Earth, the alien ships moved into attack positions, their massive forms blocking out the stars. "Message from Project Atlas," Mark reported. "They need 30 more minutes to complete emergency launch procedures." Robert nodded grimly. Then we give them 30 minutes. All units, prepare for defensive action. We hold the line. Across Earth's orbit, human defense platforms emerged from stealth fields. Ground-based laser arrays powered up, targeting the alien vessels. Humanity's own warships, smaller but numerous, moved to protect key positions. Sir, Mark's voice was quiet. We're outnumbered and outgunned. Numbers aren't everything, son. Robert watched as the tactical display updated with final battle positions. Humanity has survived worse odds. And we have something they don't expect. Deep underground, the final preparations for Atlas continued. They just had to hold out long enough for humanity's secret weapon to launch. The first shots of the battle were moments away, and the galaxy was about to learn that threatening Earth was a very dangerous mistake. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, alarms blared through Project Atlas's launch facility. Captain Michael Ross strode through the corridors of the massive ship, his footsteps echoing on the metal deck as emergency launch preparations continued around him. Dawn, status report. He called out to the ship's eye. A calm female voice responded through the ship's internal systems. All critical systems online, Captain. 7-dimensional drive is primed and stable. Hull integrity at 100%. Crew boarding is at 92% completion. Michael reached the bridge, where his command crew worked at their stations, running final checks. Through the main viewport, he could see the massive launch doors above beginning to open, revealing glimpses of the underground shaft that would lead them to the surface. Status of the battle upstairs, he asked his tactical officer, Paul. Not good, sir. The defense fleet is holding, but they're taking heavy losses. Admiral Stone reports they can't maintain the defense screen much longer. The deck vibrated as the ship's main power systems came fully online. The strange purple-tinged energy of the 7D drive pulsed through conduits visible beneath transparent floor panels. Dawn, begin launch sequence, Michael ordered, strapping himself into the command chair. All hands, prepare for emergency ascent. Launch sequence initiated, Dawn confirmed. Warning, optimal launch conditions not met. Significant risk of detection by Confederation forces. Michael allowed himself a grim smile. They're going to detect us anyway. Might as well make an entrance. The massive ship shuddered as its lift systems engaged. Slowly, Atlas began to rise through the launch shaft, its dimensional dampeners already working to minimize its energy signature. Above them, through gaps in the opening doors, they could see flashes of light from the orbital battle. Engineering reports all systems nominal, his chief engineer reported. The 7D drive is humming like a dream, sir. Ready on your command. The ship continued its ascent, the rocky walls of the shaft giving way to night sky. Sensor displays lit up with warnings as Confederation ships detected their emergence. Multiple targeting locks, Paul announced. They're bringing their heavy weapons to bear. Dawn, status of the 7D drive. 7-dimensional matrices are aligned. Drive is ready for activation. Warning, no previous data exists for full-scale vessel transition. Michael watched as enemy ships turned toward them, their weapons charging. They had one chance to prove that humanity's greatest gamble would pay off. Message from the Lid Confederation vessel, his communications officer reported. They're ordering us to power down and surrender. Send no response, Michael ordered. Dawn, begin 7D drive activation sequence. All hands, brace for dimensional transition. The ship's interior lit up with strange light as the drive powered up. Reality itself seemed to bend around them, the view through the viewport twisting in ways that human eyes weren't meant to process. Confederation ships are firing, Paul shouted. Dawn, execute transition now. The universe shifted. There was a sensation that no one on board could properly describe, as if they were simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, existing in ways that defied conventional physics. Through it all, Dawn's voice remained steady, dimensional transition in progress. All systems functioning within theoretical parameters. shifting through dimensional planes 4 through 7. The enemy fire passed harmlessly through the space where Atlas had been, but the ship was no longer fully present in normal spacetime. Through the viewport, the crew could see reality from angles that shouldn't have been possible. Dawn, status of the ship and crew. All crew life signs stable. Hull integrity maintaining. 7-dimensional field is holding. We are successfully operating beyond conventional spacetime. Michael allowed himself to relax slightly. The impossible had become possible. Humanity's greatest technological achievement was working exactly as designed. "Take us on a course around the Confederation fleet," he ordered. "Let's show them what this ship can do." Atlas moved through higher dimensions, partially visible to normal space as a shimmering, reality-bending phantom. The Confederation ship's sensors couldn't properly track them, their weapons useless against a vessel operating on dimensional levels they couldn't reach. "Sir," Paul said with awe in his voice, "we did it. We actually did it." Michael watched as his ship, humanity's greatest achievement, danced through dimensions around the enemy fleet. Years of research, countless sacrifices, and unwavering determination had led to this moment. "No," he corrected. "We're just getting started. Dawn, prepare for combat demonstrations. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." The real test of Atlas's power was about to begin. "Dimensional anomalies detected across all scanning bands," reported High Commander Vex's science officer. "The human vessel. It's not behaving according to any known laws of physics." The command deck of the Confederation flagship erupted in chaos as Atlas performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. The human ship phased in and out of normal space, leaving trails of purple energy that twisted reality in its wake. "Impossible," Vex hissed, his scales shifting colors in agitation. "Target that vessel with everything we have." Across the Confederation fleet, weapons fired. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and graviton pulses streaked through space. But Atlas simply shifted through higher dimensions, letting the attacks pass harmlessly through the space where it had been microseconds before. Inside Atlas, Captain Michael Ross watched the enemy's futile attempts with grim satisfaction. "Dawn, begin demonstration sequence Alpha. Show them what happens when they underestimate humanity." "Initiating sequence," Dawn responded. 7-dimensional field expanding. "Warning, local spacetime distortions will be significant." The ship's drive pulsed with intense energy. Reality rippled outward from Atlas in waves the human mind struggled to comprehend. Several crew members had to look away from their view screens as space itself seemed to fold and unfold in impossible ways. On the Confederation ships, sensors overloaded and failed. Their advanced AI systems, designed to process combat data from multiple dimensions, crashed as they encountered phenomena their programming couldn't classify. 7-dimensional field at full power, Dawn announced. "Ready to execute maneuver on your command, Captain." Michael nodded. "Do it." Atlas accelerated, but not in any direction that could be described in normal space. The ship moved asterisk through asterisk dimensions, appearing to split into multiple versions of itself before converging again. Each movement left traces in reality, like cracks in the fabric of spacetime. "Their targeting systems can't track us," Paul reported from Tactical. "Their weapons are firing randomly now." The Confederation fleet's formation began to break. Ships moved erratically, their crews unable to process what their sensors were telling them. Some vessels tried to retreat, only to find their engines wouldn't respond properly in the distorted space around them. "Message from Admiral Stone," the communications officer announced. "Earth's defense fleet is regrouping. They're asking if we need assistance." Michael allowed himself a small smile. "Tell them to hold position. Let's finish this demonstration." "Captain," Dawn interjected, "I'm detecting attempts by Confederation ships to scan our drive signature. Recommend we show them the full capabilities of our dimensional manipulation." "Agreed." "Execute maneuver Omega-7." The drive's hum changed pitch. Atlas began to move in ways that made the previous maneuvers look simple. The ship existed simultaneously in multiple dimensional planes, creating a cascade of reality distortions that ripple through space. On the Confederation flagship, Vex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was rendered helpless. Their most advanced weapons couldn't touch the human vessel. Their best sensors couldn't make sense of it. Everything they thought they knew about physics was being proven wrong. "This is High Commander Vex to all ships," he finally transmitted. "Stand down. Power down weapons. We cannot fight what we cannot understand." Atlas returned to normal space, positioning itself between Earth and the Confederation fleet. The reality distortions faded, leaving behind a stunned silence. "Attention Confederation forces," Michael broadcast. This was a demonstration of just one ship's capabilities. Earth now has a fleet of vessels equipped with similar technology. We suggest you reconsider your position on humanity's place in the galaxy. The response was immediate. Confederation ships began powering down their weapons, their crews still trying to process what they had witnessed. Some of their sensitive equipment had been permanently damaged by exposure to higher dimensional energies they weren't designed to detect. "Dawn," Michael said quietly. "Damage report." "No damage to report, Captain. All systems functioning at optimal levels. 7-dimensional drive ready for further operations if needed." He looked at his crew, seeing pride and amazement on their faces. In less than an hour, they had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity had proven itself not just equal to the advanced species, but capable of surpassing them. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them Operation Reality Break was a complete success. The galaxy's going to need some time to process what just happened." Through the viewport, he could see the Confederation ships beginning to retreat. Their laughter had stopped, replaced by a new emotion, fear of what humanity might do next. The United Earth Defense Command buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across the solar system. Admiral Robert Stone watched the main display as dozens of smaller ships emerged from hidden facilities on Earth, Mars, and various asteroid bases. "Operation Revelation is now active," his tactical officer announced. "All ships reporting successful 7-dimensional drive activation." Earth's hidden fleet took formation around Atlas, each vessel shimming with the same reality-bending energy. The ships ranged from swift corvettes to powerful cruisers, all built in secret, while Atlas served as both prototype and decoy. "Open channel to the Confederation fleet," Robert ordered. High Commander Vex's image appeared, his usual confidence completely shattered. Behind him, his command crew worked frantically to make sense of the sensor readings from Earth's new fleet. "As you can see, Commander," Robert said calmly, "Atlas was just the beginning. While you were focused on our primary project, we built an entire fleet." "This is impossible," Vex responded, his translator struggling to convey his mix of fear and disbelief. "The resources required, the technology, you couldn't have hidden this." "But we did. Humanity has always been good at keeping secrets when needed. Your own arrogance made it easier. You never thought to look for what you believed was impossible." The Earth fleet began moving in perfect formation, their dimensional drives synchronized. Space itself seemed to ripple and flex around them, creating patterns that defied conventional physics. "Message from the Confederation Council," an officer reported. "They're requesting an immediate ceasefire and opening diplomatic channels." Robert allowed himself a small smile. "Tell them we accept their ceasefire, and inform them that Earth will be taking this seat on the Council, not as a junior member, but as an equal." The next few hours saw a flurry of diplomatic activity. Confederation ships began withdrawing from Earth orbit, maintaining a respectful distance from the human fleet. News of Earth's technological leaps spread across the galaxy at FTL speeds. In his private office, Robert received reports from across known space. Other primitive species were demanding explanations from the Confederation. The carefully maintained hierarchy of galactic civilization was crumbling. "Admiral," his aide entered with a priority message, "we're receiving requests for diplomatic contact from 17 independent worlds. They want to discuss technology sharing agreements." And the Confederation's response: "They're not in a position to object anymore, sir. Their fleet's reputation is in shambles after today. No one has ever seen their finest ships rendered so completely helpless." Robert walked to his window, looking out at the stars. "Humanity's not going to abuse this advantage. We're not like them. We remember what it's like to be looked down upon." His computer chimed with a priority alert. Captain Ross was requesting permission to take Atlas on its first official mission beyond the solar system. "Permission granted," he transmitted back. "Show the galaxy what humanity can really do." The massive ship powered up its drive, creating a cascade of dimensional effects visible from Earth. In its wake followed 3 smaller vessels, their combined energy signatures creating patterns that human scientists were still trying to understand. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "some of the Confederation worlds are expressing concern about our rapid advancement. They're worried about what other technologies we might have hidden." "Let them worry," Robert replied. "Maybe it will teach them not to underestimate species different from themselves." Reports continued to arrive through the day. Some showed Confederation worlds beginning to question their leadership. Others revealed that several primitive species had been conducting their own secret research, inspired by Earth's example. The balance of power wasn't just shifting, it was being completely rewritten. "Send word to all Earth ships," Robert ordered. "Begin parallel dimensional jumps in sequence. Let's show everyone that this wasn't a one-time demonstration." Across the solar system, human vessels began moving through higher dimensions. Each jump was precisely calculated, creating a display of technological mastery that no one could ignore. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's ambitions. Now they watched in silence as Earth's fleet danced through dimensions they couldn't comprehend. "The age of Confederation dominance is over," Robert said to himself, watching the ships perform their intricate maneuvers. "It's time for a new order, one where every species has a chance to reach their full potential." The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if acknowledging that a new power had truly emerged among them. 3 months after the Atlas incident, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different. The raised platforms that had once separated advanced species from primitive ones were gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all representatives sat as equals. James Miller, the scientist who had started it all, stood at the central podium. Around him sat representatives from hundreds of worlds, including many species that had never been allowed in these chambers before. "The principles of 7-dimensional physics aren't as complex as the Confederation claimed," he explained, gesturing at the holographic models floating above the chamber. The real breakthrough was thinking differently about dimensional barriers. The assembled delegates watched intently as he demonstrated the basic concepts. Even former Confederation scientists were taking notes, their previous certainty about dimensional physics thoroughly shaken. "Earth is willing to share this knowledge," James continued, "but only with worlds that commit to using it peacefully. We've seen what happens when advanced technology is used to suppress others." High Commander Vex, now serving as just one of many council members, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The Confederation's influence had crumbled rapidly after Earth's demonstration. Their claims of superior knowledge and wisdom rang hollow now. In orbit above, Atlas and its sister ships maintained their patrol. The sight of human vessels phasing through multiple dimensions had become common enough that most species no longer found it disturbing. Some had even begun to see the beauty in the reality bending effects. "The first joint research facility will open next month on Mars," James announced. "Scientists from 30 different worlds will work together to explore the higher dimensions. This time, we advance together." The chamber erupted in approving sounds from various species. The old barriers were falling fast. Worlds that had been dismissed as primitive were revealing their own hidden advances, encouraged by Earth's example. "Message from Fleet Command," an aide whispered to James. "The first non-human crew has successfully piloted a 7-dimensional vessel." James smiled. This was what humanity had hoped for, not dominance, but a chance to help others rise. The galaxy was changing rapidly, becoming more open and collaborative. After the session, he met with Captain Michael Ross in one of the station's observation lounges. Through the massive windows, they could see ships from dozens of worlds moving through space, some already incorporating elements of Earth's dimensional technology. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" Michael asked, watching a group of former primitive species delegates excitedly discussing ship designs. "Honestly, I just wanted to prove them wrong about dimensional physics," James replied. "Everything else. This is beyond what any of us imagined." Their conversation was interrupted by approaching footsteps. A young delegate from one of the formerly suppressed worlds approached, carrying what appeared to be an ancient text. "Professor Miller," the delegate said excitedly, "we found references to dimensional travel in our ancient records. Our ancestors understood some of these principles, but the Confederation convinced us it was just mythology." This had been happening more and more. As species shed the mental constraints imposed by Confederation doctrine, they were rediscovering their own potential. "The galaxy's getting noisier," Michael observed, looking at the bustling activity around them. "All these species finding their voice at once." James nodded. "Better noisy than silent. Better chaos than stagnation." Through the window, they watched as a new ship emerged from Earth's dimensional shipyards. Its design incorporated ideas from a dozen different species, proof that collaboration was already producing results that surpassed what any one civilization could achieve alone. "You know what the best part is," James said quietly. The laughter stopped, but it was replaced by something better: genuine respect. The galaxy had indeed changed. The rigid hierarchy was gone, replaced by a complex web of relationships between equals. Species that had never talked before were sharing ideas, combining technologies, and breaking through barriers together. "We should get back," Michael said, checking the time. "The first class of multi-species dimensional physics students starts today." As they walked through the station's corridors, passing representatives from worlds across the galaxy, both men felt a profound sense of satisfaction. Humanity hadn't just proven itself, it had helped create something new and better. The galaxy wasn't laughing anymore. Instead, it was learning to work together, reaching for dimensions that no single species could grasp alone. And that was worth far more than any victory.